Somebody like really muscular says something remotely intelligent, you're like, get the fuck out of here with this guy. Like,
If I say one thing that's halfway smart, it's like it's a big victory, right? If you're a meathead.
Why do you guys think that like people expect meatheads to be stupid?
I think they might think that they're self-centered. In Rocky, when Rocky meets Adrian, he said, my parents told me that I wasn't born with much of a brain, so I better use my body. And she says, my parents told me the opposite. And I think that's kind of what you like kind of see what cards you got. What are you good at? What makes you feel good? What is something you can get admiration from your friends doing? There's going to be a point where everyone's going to be faced with wanting to be stronger, no matter what. I was given some blood today.
Yeah, let's tell us both. What both happened to you guys with your blood giving experience?
You know,
Yes.
blood was given.
Yeah, I gave 100 or 500 milliliters of blood today because my iron was a little high when I got my blood work back, and that's not good. So I wanted to take care of that, make sure that doesn't pile up and make my blood sludgy and weird. And so I gave some blood. Like normally, what I do is I usually go and I usually donate blood. But this time around, I just did something a little different. Bloodletting, just had a nurse come and just take the blood. I realized people need the blood, so don't get all pissy at me. But one of the reasons why I did it is there's just every time you go in to donate blood, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So I will still do that. I'll still do that like once or twice a year. Make sure I do that because I know people are in need, but they ask a lot of questions and it's kind of a pain in the neck to go through the process. But had our buddy John come here, who's a nurse, and he did. He helped Kenny and he helped Andrew.
Yeah.
So I got through 400 milliliters, and all of a sudden I couldn't hold my head up anymore. The lights got dim, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then I start sweating. I started feeling a little nauseous, and that was really like the worst of it. Like I thought I was gonna throw up. It was weird. And then John was like, "Are you feeling a little clammy?" I'm like, "Yep." And I was like, "Ooh." I was like, I think I'm going out. And he's like, "Okay, just calm down." He put he kind of like he was holding me up with like his hip as he's like still taking blood out. And I was like, "Yep, all right, I'm going out." And so I'm like starting to fade. He's like, "Just don't close your eyes." So I was like,
He told you not to close your eyes. Yeah.
And then so I'm like, all right. And then little by little I was coming back, but it was funny because Chloe was like trying to give me water, but I'm like my eyes were closed, and she had to like announce it. She's like, "There's water in front of you." I'm like, "Oh, my bad."
All right, let me ask you guys this because I think this is actually a good PSA for people. What is it that specifically causes the blood to get a little bit thick? And then how can somebody know if they do need to give blood? Like what are the signs that that's something they need to start paying attention to?
Some of my understanding, and I'm not qualified to really answer this question the right way, but some of my understanding is that your red blood cell count gets high. And when your red blood cell count gets high, your blood basically gets thick. And what will happen to a lot of lifters and people that are using TRT and people that are going beyond that and doing like performance enhancement and taking larger dosages, they will not only have thicker blood and higher red blood cell count, but they sometimes will also have high blood pressure.
Yep.
And when you kind of mix those things together with some of the things that we're asking ourselves to do, having pre-workout and caffeine and who knows what other substances you're taking, you're asking your body, your heart to try to push all this blood around that has high pressure, and the blood is not the way that it should be. The viscosity or something is like high, and it's just sludgy, basically, is kind of the short of it.
Yeah, it's thicker blood, and I believe it's the hematocrit and their hemoglobin. Those levels are out of whack, and which mine have always been before I ever did anything.
Really?
Yes, because I snore, and when you snore, you're gasping for air, apparently, or you're like, what's it called, like oxygen deprivation. Your levels will get out of whack, and therefore my blood was thick, and this is something that I need to do on a regular basis. And today was just a cool opportunity because I was going to be here anyways. I've never actually started to pass out like that before. And I'm still trying to wake up from it.
Last question. How often do you think somebody who's on TRT should get their blood work done just to keep in check? Because a lot of people, I would assume, are on TRT and like they've never Like they don't get their blood work done often to see what might be going on with their hematocrit. So how often do you think is a frequency?
Well, it's always great to have a healthcare practitioner. It's good to be like signed up with someone like Merrick. That would be my first suggestion, would be to do that. If you don't have the money to do that and you're kind of just blasting stuff, you're really kind of just guessing. But my guess would be that if you are, you're taking enough stuff to where you're getting bigger, you're gaining body weight, I would assume that your blood pressure is probably getting higher. So you want to make sure you have a lot of precautions in place for just having higher blood pressure. And that would be something that you can get tested by, going to a doctor, getting some sort of physical. But a lot of people don't want to do these things. They just do it when they're compromised. And then someone checks their blood and they're like, yo, your blood pressure is crazy. We don't know what's going on. And then it causes like panic. And then sometimes it takes a while to kind of unravel all that. But if I was just to give like a blanket recommendation, I would say people should probably try to give blood once a year. And donating blood is great. Again, there's recipients out there. There's young kids that have cancer and stuff like that. There's a lot of wild shit going on out there. People have diseases and stuff, and donating blood is a great option.
Yeah, mine, like I said, my levels came back, all in the red or whatever. And again, we've talked about like, what does that even mean? It's like, well, it shows that my blood is thicker, and I was recommended every 3 months. So, and that's just on snoring and, TRT. So
even if somebody has sleep apnea, it might be
sleep apnea and they're running more stuff like,
or just being overweight and having sleep
every
apnea.
3 months is what I'll recommend, because I know for like myself, I'm supposed to do it every 3 months. It's hard for me to do it once every 6 months. So I'll say every 3 months. So that way you feel guilty to do it twice a year at least.
Right. Yeah, and there's a giant rabbit hole of this kind of stuff to study, but there's people that have theories that iron is one of the things that makes us old. Much like iron on a car, the car will start to rust, and it will start to not move the same way. The door hinge that has rust on it's not going to move the same way anymore. And people have hypothesis that because men don't bleed the same way that women do, we don't get rid of our blood, that our iron sometimes runs a little higher. And that could be one of the reasons why men's life expectancy is shorter than women. But there's a million other reasons why. But that is a theory that's out there. So anybody that gets their blood work done, if you see that your iron is high, or you see that your hematocrit and some of these other things are high, you might want to donate some blood.
We could have periods too. Just takes a few punches to the gut.
Yeah.
You'll be pissing blood in no time.
Oh.
You want to give it a shot?
Or run a marathon.
Or run a marathon.
Yeah,
Were you pissing blood?
No, I wasn't, but I heard a lot of people do. I was like, damn.
Shit. Ooh, that makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I escaped whatever the hell that is.
That was just kind of funny though. Pete Rubish, I don't know. Actually, he didn't mention it on the podcast. He mentioned when he was talking to Kenny. He was like, yeah, there was one time where I just started peeing blood. And then he was like, yeah, it went on for a little bit and then it stopped. I was like, wait, Pete, you didn't get that checked? He's like, oh my God. I just thought it was back in the day when he was running, his stuff. That shit was like, if I pee blood, bro, go to the doctor immediately.
So we were talking a little bit off air, and we were getting into some good conversation about just kind of being big and dumb and the kind of stereotype that's out there. And I think, there might be some reasons why it's warranted, because somebody that is going to use their body physically, maybe they're not going to spend as much time reading books and educating themselves and being like a world traveler.
Or breathing through their nose.
Or breathing through their nose, yeah. Yeah, mouth breathing, just sitting there, just getting dumber and dumber. But anyway, we'll get into it a little bit more. Let's check out this clip from Tom Segura and Huberin.
Also,
Sort of
I
a size.
do feel personally offended. Chael Sonnen called me a meathead.
Really?
Yeah.
He was a lot meaner to me.
He was. But you see, like that term is just used like meathead.
Yeah.
Why though?
Yeah. Why? Anyways. Let's go.
Is threshold beyond which if you're too big, people think you're dumb.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's what I think, but so I've never wanted to be I'm not
He
I've never
always
wanted to-
retraces his steps.
Once you waddle,
Yeah.
right? There's sort of and I don't know why that stereotype came to be.
Let's pause for a
because
second
there's
here.
certainly
I think he's got a point with the waddling. I think once you start to waddle, like I think it throws off your the whole equilibrium of your entire balance of your mind, body, spirit, just throws it on its axis a little bit.
I mean, when you do, like, if it, just picture right now, if you guys are listening, just imagine somebody waddling in your direction. Are you, being disabled aside, putting that aside, you're probably gonna be like, something's up with this.
You're not thinking this guy's a genius.
Probably
Sadly.
gonna ask somebody else for directions.
Right? Can't even walk straight, dog. Like, how am I supposed to trust you?
You're waddling.
You know, in the defense of waddling, some people sometimes just waddle just because they get real, like they just their legs and stuff get real big.
Why'd you have to bring this up?
And sometimes people are still like athletic and still, move pretty good, but they got like a waddle. And sometimes you're like, how is it that guy's so good at his sport? He kind of waddles pretty good. Powerlifting, we see it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We see it a lot in powerlifting.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's like cyclists. There's all kinds of people. Sometimes they get like super jacked legs. But we know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are sports that are filled with waddlers. But still, I get it. I get the waddle thing. I get it. I'm trying to Stan Efferding.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big waddler, but he's very intelligent.
He's pretty goddamn sharp.
Yeah.
He knows a lot.
Waddles everywhere.
He waddles to and fro all over the place. He went all over the whole country.
Yeah.
And even outside the country.
Yeah. Waddling in seminars. Waddling on Shark Tank.
Yeah, see?
There we go.
Let's go.
Some very smart, very muscular people.
Sure.
With degrees.
And it's always surprising. Honestly, it is. It's like somebody like really muscular says something remotely intelligent. You're like, get the fuck out of here with this guy. Like,
There you
Pause
go.
it a
That's
second.
your steroid.
I think that's great. I think that helps. Like, if I say one thing that's halfway smart, it's like it's a big victory, right? If you're a meathead.
I hate to bring it here, but the funniest thing when I was younger, and is okay, guys, you can laugh at this. When I was younger, I mean, my mom, like, she made me be very careful with my language. So something I would get from people was like, "Wow, you speak so well," and it's just like, why are you telling me that? Because they didn't expect me to speak that way because I looked a certain way.
What way do you look?
I don't know, man. I mean, I am pretty big, but
What way are they expecting you to talk?
They expect me, to spit out a little bit more flagrancies here and there. You know what I mean? But that's kind of just, it's kind of funny. You know what I mean? We have expectations when we see certain people, and then when they're the bit opposite. Andrew, did something come to mind?
Just when he was like, when someone big says something, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
like, go you.
No, that was so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
god,
so cute. You read books. Oh my god, that's amazing.
this is actually. I'm curious. What? Why do you guys think that like people expect meatheads to be stupid? People that like use their bodies and lift weights and they have physical prowess. Why do we have the expectation for them to be a little bit dull in the head?
I think that people are going to think that they're not only dull, but I think they might think that they're self-centered. They might think that the person's kind of a jerk, especially if the person's like shredded for whatever reason. Like there's that connotation
So
that
into yourself.
yeah, the person's going to be like way into themselves, and I don't know, maybe sometimes that is the case. But we certainly know a lot of people that are like developed, in many different realms. Like Lane Norton. He's still powerlifting at a really high level. He's a doctor. He got a PhD. He's super smart. I mean, the list of people goes on and on. Dr. Sean Baker. I mean, he's a big old meathead, and he's not afraid to admit it. I think people are just thinking that you're spending a lot of time in the gym and probably not putting your time other places. I think people are in recognition of like, whatever that guy's got going on, like that takes a long time.
I'm thinking of like, what do you guys usually think when you see a really, really hot woman? You don't just go to the idea that she's dumb, right? But the idea does maybe cross your mind, or am I just fucked up?
I think there's like a lot of factors. Like if you happen to get in conversation with her and she has kind of a southern accent, then sometimes, you know what I mean?
Or just took a whole part of the United States.
I know,
and like, you're fucking dumb.
I know, but that's like
or Valley Girl,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's I would think kind of what you're about to say.
the way that someone talks.
Yes.
And
Oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, you get a
Yeah.
lot of free passes, don't you?
But isn't that kind of fucked up? Because like I've met a lot of super
How
smart,
about the-
beautiful women.
how about
you know?
the British accent?
Oh, you automatically
Instantly, you're like, this guy knows his shit, or
Yep.
this girl must know what's up.
increases IQ by like 30 points off rip.
Well, that's scientifically proven, though.
German accent, you think they're evil? You think they're up to something? You know what I mean?
I think so.
I
But-
think so, yeah.
So this is something actually. When you see like a beautiful woman, like a really good looking woman, maybe some like that a lot of times that's genetic, right? But you don't think that they've fleshed out other parts of themselves because this. You guys have seen those like diagrams with like intelligence and dexterity, video games or whatever. Beauty is like here, then intelligence must be like down here, right? Or
Crazy.
build is up here, intelligence must be down here. Why do we think that?
I think we have a tendency to think that people's like path, you look at somebody and you try to figure out like their like algorithm a little bit, and you're like, oh, they had it easy because of this, or they had it easy because of that. Like, and you try to like just stamp that on them, and then you're like, you just leave that label on them, and you don't even really investigate it. You don't ever find out if the person's smart or not.
Have either of you guys ever played, I don't know, RPGs, like role-playing games or anything?
Very
Yeah?
little.
Where you
yeah.
have a character and you put in certain points for
Oh, yeah,
strength,
yeah.
dexterity,
Oh, yeah.
intelligence, and
always
wisdom,
I always went for speed.
speed.
Yeah.
And if you put a little bit too much into strength, you got to take away from somewhere else. We look at life like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't have it all, but you kind of can have a lot in a lot of certain areas.
Strength and speed, awareness, intelligence, all 100.
The hot to crazy ratio.
No-go zone.
Yeah. So
All right,
like
explain this, Andrew.
So like it's on the bottom is hotness, on the top is craziness. So like 0 hotness but 10 crazy, like that's a no-go zone. But then crazy, there's like a danger zone up here because she's really hot, but she's she's really crazy, but she's also really hot. And then the unicorn's down here on the bottom, which is super hot but also not crazy. Like so, this is the wife zone, date zone, fun zone.
Yeah.
Danger zone, also no.
Don't say that word. It's just like you can't say that now.
Which one?
Do you not see the word at the bottom in the blue?
Oh,
Or is that
I
just
did
on
not
our
see
screen?
that. That's funny. It's in the 10 though, right? Does that count?
Tony Huge would love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
My
hopefully
bad.
that's,
I didn't see that.
let's blur that on the edit. We don't want people knowing.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Andrew, where do you think the stigma comes from?
But I think so when you go back to like high school, it was always like the dumb jock,
Right.
right? Like he was number one on the football field, but like kind of got a pass because he was so good at football or
Right.
whatever it is. At least that's what like TV shows and stuff would portray it as. I never actually knew anybody like that. But that kind of was the case though, right? Like the sports guys were really into the sports and staying in shape. Didn't really care too much about the school side of things. And I think we kind of just build that up, especially because people don't understand what it actually takes to be a jacked bodybuilder. They think it's like, oh, you probably do nothing but drink protein shakes
Protein.
and you live in the gym, right? That's what they assume. So they're like, how can you possibly develop anywhere else in life if that's all you do? So and it's like, but then if you find out what it actually does take to get that big, like you'll be like, holy shit, they do put a lot of time and energy into it, but it's more than just, living in the gym.
Probably a lot of time and energy learning.
Yeah, that's what I
Like,
mean. Yeah.
To some capacity, whether it's via like a coach or reading or searching stuff on YouTube, much the same way somebody could become good at music. Somebody that, rips out a beautiful melody, you wouldn't be like, that guy's an idiot. You would think, wow, that sounded really awesome. And I think someone that's able to like kind of sculpt their body and take their time with it, they're going to learn a lot over the years. But I think a lot of this comes from, I think people are just trying to utilize what they feel they have, So somebody went to lift or someone went to play football and they did it against or with other people, soccer. And you're like, oh, I can like trick my friends and I can move a little faster than them. And I can and you get adulation for that. People are like, oh, Nsima is a soccer player. And it makes you feel good. And so then you gravitate towards that. And then there might be people that are making the mistake of thinking like, Nsima is a soccer player and doesn't do anything else. He's not studying. He's not doing all the other things that other kids would be doing. in Rocky, when Rocky meets Adrian, he's skating on the ice with her, and he says, I wasn't born. He said, my parents told me that I wasn't born with much of a brain, so I better use my body. And she says, my parents told me the opposite. I wasn't born with much of a body, so I better use my brain. And I think that's kind of what you like kind of see what cards you got. Like, what are you good at? What makes you feel good? What is something you can get admiration from your friends doing?
Beef. Power Project family, it is grilling season. Now, I really don't know much about grilling since I use an air fryer at home. My boy Andrew does, though. So, since it's grilling season, it's time to get your hands on some Piedmontese beef. We love those glizzies. We love that beef. Andrew, tell them more about it.
Yeah, guys. So like you mentioned, they do have those glizzies.
Hey, yo!
For those that don't know, that's just a hot dog, but it's all beef hot dog and it's amazing. My favorite thing to smoke is their prime rib, though. And, it's grilling season. So dust off those grills, dust off those smokers, and head over to cpbeef.com, and at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Get your glizzy gobbler on. I will say this too. What you mentioned there is, and you mentioned this right before the podcast started, it's like there's an exposure thing, right? So, and Andrew, you kind of touched on this too, like if a kid is good at sports in high school or something, and maybe if there's not much care on their grades, maybe the kid will just lean into the physical aspects of everything and not really believe that they are intelligent here or can do something else here just because there's such a high prowess here. Mm-hmm. Just like that mindset book by Carol Dweck, when she brought up how if you tell a child how talented they are about something, you may believe that as a child, cool, but as an adult, you immediately feel like if you do not have talent with something, therefore you cannot get good. Whereas we know that if you do spend time, like literally spend time doing anything, you can become very proficient. It just takes work and consistency, right? So for the individual that like was only exposed to certain things, let's say they're exposed to sports and playing and using their bodies, and then they start trying to do music stuff and they kind of suck at it, they'll automatically think, oh, I'm not good at this music thing, or I'm not talented at that. Whereas if they just started working at it, they could be maybe just as good at that as they are at sports.
Mm-hmm. Or they like, again, going back to the high school kid, like they'll get tons of admiration for winning the game or whatever. And then they get, whatever, D- or F. And it's like, damn, like,
I'm not smart.
Yeah, I'm really good at that, and everybody knows it.
A 30 out of, and you're like, is that out of 100?
Yeah, it was like, or is that
everyone
30 out of 32?
Teacher
right?
puts the papers on each person's desk face up, and then yours goes face down, and you flip it over, and you're like, oh shit,
yeah.
That was me. I think some of that for me though, like my family they always emphasized education. I knew education was important. They didn't care that much about what actually happened in school, though. And so for me, at a young age, I was able to learn that there's a difference between school. My dad was like, I just don't, not to be like super negative, but I don't think school's great for you. Like, and I think that that's just the way it is. Like, you should always try, you should do your homework, you should show up on time and not skip school and like all these things. But he's like, I just think that school's going to be harder for you than maybe some other people.
How old were you when he said this?
Probably like 11, 12.
It's a long time ago, but do you remember, did you look at school differently after you heard that? Like, did you feel more positively about it? Or
yeah, I felt more positive because I was like, you know what, just, it doesn't matter if you're slow at something, just take your time and, get it done whatever way you can, kind of thing. And just always put in a good effort and just always be like nice to the teachers and be respectful of people. And that was kind of, my parents were like, come on, like don't get an F, like you gotta suck to get an F. You gotta like not do the work and you have to cause trouble. But if you're communicating with the teacher and they see that there's an effort, they're not gonna completely just flunk you out of school on every grade every turn that you get. And then plus you can also make up work too. You do something and you're like, I gotta, you do it again. And maybe one time you get a 30 and maybe next time you get 60. And they're like, hey, that's good enough. At least half the material. You get to kind of like move on. So that was some of my experience in school. But again, I learned at a young age that I saw what my dad did. My dad was an accountant. He worked for IBM. I saw like what he was doing. And I knew that if I ever wanted to be successful in anything, that you have to have some sort of education. You have to be like a material expert in something. And I think Andrew maybe had similar experience with your dad, like being a mechanic. Like he, it sounds like school went differently for you than it did for me. It sounded like you just didn't want to fucking be there.
No, yeah.
And I didn't want to be there either. But when you have somebody in the household that, can monetize like what's in their head, monetize what's in their brain in such a direct way like that, like a mechanic or like an accountant, then I think it's a good example of you trading like what's in your brain for money rather than just like sometimes it's just hours sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's the hours that you're putting in and it's still what's going on in your brain. But yeah, it was helpful to me. And I always just kind of thought like, I don't know exactly what I'll do or what I'm going to become, but I'll be able to figure out something in that because I'll be good at something if I just stick with something for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Were you about to say something?
No, but I can just tell you that, yeah, I thought school was dumb. Like I never wanted to be there. I thought it was such a waste of time. I was like, sure, I can't tell you exactly what weapons they used in World War II. I was like, but I know that was a long time ago, and if I need to, I can search for that shit. And then I remember, I think I was like in elementary school, and like I never pick a grade. I never wanted to go. It's so funny. Like my daughter now, she'll be like, oh, I can't. I don't like school, but I love going to hang out with my friends. As messed up as it sounds, I'm like, I don't care if I didn't have any friends. I would be happy to never see them again because that means I would never go to school. Like that would be great. I hated school. And one day in elementary school, my dad was like, if you don't want to go to school, you're gonna have to come to work with me. I'm like, yes. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. At least all this time that I'm putting in is gonna be worth something. I fucking hated school. I never liked it. And the whole time I thought it was dumb. I'm like, oh, we're all like here for no fucking reason. Like nobody's going to remember any of the shit that we're learning in fourth grade. I promise you. And I thought that all the way through school and I just got through it just because I had to. But
11th grade goes on your permanent record, bro.
Right. Yeah. It was, I think 9th grade actually when they started saying, hey, now it's serious. This goes on your record. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I still don't want to be here. Like, my permanent record for something I don't want to take part in. All right, cool, got it.
Yeah. I don't know. I never hated school. For me, I'm African. Mm-hmm. So like for like in our culture, in Nigerian culture, it's like we talked about this doctor, lawyer, engineer, you better be doing well in school. Yeah. And if you don't go to college, you are a failure. Mm-hmm. Like that's how it is in our culture. Every single Nigerian that comes to the US, like from Nigeria to here, it's fucking academics and sports, but I mean, things changed as time went by. But I mean, I think what we can all agree on is that we all do enjoy learning.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and we enjoy learning in our own way. Like sitting down in a fucking classroom, I hate that. Mm-hmm. But I do love reading about shit. I do love like learning about specific things, but in a different setting, right? Classrooms fucking suck. So I think, that's one thing where it's like, for example, that Acton Academy spot. Mm-hmm. Kids are able to take on learning in their own way because at the end of the day, it's like you're going to be learning shit for the rest of your life. Hopefully, hopefully you don't just like stop
right
after you get out of, you graduate and you end right. But it's just, I guess that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Keep playing the video, or
I got another video for you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I got you guys protein shake.
Awesome. I love protein.
I know you love protein. I love protein too.
Yeah, protein rocks. Are you guys talking about
Tom
protein?
Segura's right.
Fuck. I love protein too.
We know you love protein.
Look at this guy with the glasses.
Protein rocks.
Protein.
Protein.
Should we tell him about these?
Yeah, fuck off.
Absolutely not. Now there's...
That's us, isn't it?
Protein. We add protein to everything.
Right.
We don't have to add it to coffee, but it tastes really good.
It makes the coffee better.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
The thing is, when it comes to like the protein shit, it is so funny how like, I don't know, in bodybuilding, they get a lot of protein, but the bodybuilders got something right as far as like looking good. Mm-hmm. Some of them don't have it on the longevity front, but at the end of the day, there are concepts there that can allow anybody to be healthier. And if you're healthier for a longer period of time, you're going to be here longer. Your life is just better, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I know you're looking in the mirror. You're getting ready for your nephew's quinceañera. You have a long sleeve on that looks horrible and your pants don't fit right. That's why we partnered. I don't know why you're laughing. That's why we partnered with Viore Clothing. You see, this is the Boulevard shirt jacket. Fits great, stretchy, feels amazing. It's the best long sleeve in my closet. And one of the biggest things that we love about Viore is that they have clothes that you can wear to parties. They have clothes that you can wear in the gym. Like I said, your nephew's quinceañera. You can look great wherever you go if you step your fashion game up. Plus, this stuff feels like baby skin on your skin, which is kind of creepy, but at the same time, it's kind of nice and you know it. Andrew, where can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to viore.com/power project. That's VUORI.com/power project to automatically receive 20% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Fucking hell.
There's going to be a point where everyone's going to be faced with wanting to be stronger. No matter what. No matter what kind of life you live. You know, maybe you're 89 or 99 or whatever. There's going to be a point where you're like, man, I wish I could just get up one more time and do one more thing. So that's why we're meatheads. And I think, just leaning into it, why not? Like, fuck it. You think I'm dumb. That's cool. What do I care? It doesn't really make any difference to me. If someone's gonna pin a stigma on you, then let that be an advantage for you. They won't see you coming. They don't think you're competition. And maybe they don't know how hard you work, how dedicated you are to things. Maybe they don't understand that you are, a lot of times when we hear the outside comments, it's easy to let it hurt us. And I used to let that hurt me. I used to let it hurt me bad. So I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Even if my wife said something, it could be someone super close to me. They say something a little off, that they're not paying attention to the language, and they say something's dumb or stupid, or they say something I did is dumb or stupid. It doesn't bother me anymore. But it took me a long time to get past that, much like probably the same thing with somebody that's overweight, getting teased and made fun of for being fat. It's probably something that, it's a scarring thing. And anytime it's brought up, you're like, man, why'd they say that about me? But now I'm just like, oh, well, we all say that. We all say, that's dumb or that's stupid. You're acting dumb. You're acting foolish. You're acting crazy. Just because I say you're acting crazy, I'm not trying to reference that I heard that you had I'm not trying to use that I heard, that you're bipolar or something against you. You know what I mean? it's just language. You're just effing around,
Yeah, I kind of dig it when somebody does call me a meathead. I don't mind it at all, because it's like, yeah, I may have maxed out physical prowess. You don't know anything else about me, though. If you did, you change your opinion, but that's fine. I'm a meathead. It means I have a good handle on my health, probably. I may look pretty fucking good. This sounds fucked up to say, by the way. It's it sounds very self-aggrandizing. But if somebody is calling you a meathead, just know that there's maybe something there that they might want and they don't have. And that's okay. Now go max out all your other stats. Right?
Yeah, go work on the other stuff. I actually think that if you were to pick one or the other, it's actually really hard to say, but I think if you were to pick one thing to focus on versus another, if you were to focus it, I guess you could kind of do it either way. It would be nice to be able to get these things, but I feel that if you make your body physically sound, that you'll be mentally clean and that you'll be mentally sound. And it feels like that was my experience. That felt good for me, and that allowed me to make a lot of money later on.
What's that quote you had?
A quote from Seneca.
Because it fit perfectly. I hope I didn't make you lose train of thought, by the way.
No, let's see, where'd it go? Nope, that ain't it. Oh man, lost it.
Damn it! I just made you. Hope you didn't lose your train of thought, though.
No, I can get it back, but I can't find that quote. Let me I don't know. Talk about something else.
Well, who was it?
It's Seneca, but there it is. There it is. Kaboom.
Okay. Yeah, this quote you showed me from Seneca earlier. The body should be treated rigorously, that it may not be disobedient to the mind.
Yeah, I just kind of believe that. I believe that everything else falls in line. And I guess what my main point here is that from from the time I was young, I worked on stuff physically. And when it came to, doing things later on and having an invention and a business and things like that, all that stuff seemed really easy. And then people would tell me about these books, about these entrepreneurial books and this entrepreneurial spirit and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what any of this means. When I was a kid and someone said they were an entrepreneur, it means they didn't have a job. That's what it meant. Or they're between jobs, And then people would tell me, I would say, oh, that's cool. Like, what's in the book, And say, oh, it really teaches you to have this tough mental mindset and to do things to the best of your ability and to, show up on time and spend a lot of time in the areas where you want to be good. And I'm like, just thinking, I'm not smarter than these books, and I don't pretend to know everything that's in these books, but it sounds like I'm already practicing all these things just by being excited to go to the gym every day and just by following my heart and the thing that I love to do. I kind of fell into some of this backwards. I'm like, I'm already practicing that. Like, why am I going to, I do like Gary Vee. I love the information, but like, why am I going to sit there and try to listen to Gary Vee when I listen to just a little bit of it? I'm like, I already think most of the same thoughts as him. Because all that stuff is just somebody obsessing over something. Gary Vee happened to get obsessed over wine and baseball cards and stuff when he was young. His dad owned a wine place, and it clicked in his head that the wine was the same as the baseball cards that he was selling, and it kind of clicked in his head for him to be able to kind of move into some of that. But I was obsessed with lifting since the time I was a kid, and I thought about it day and night, and I'd think about it when I was taking a shit. I'd think about it in the shower. I'd think about it when I was going to bed. I would think about the movements. I'd think about how to get better at the movements. Oh, I wonder if I try this. I wonder if I bench off of like this board this way with a pause here, with a band there, like what that's going to do for my triceps, That's what it takes to bench 854 pounds. Like you got to be really meticulous, got to think about it all the time. And as I thought about it more and more and more, I'm like, why do so many people come up to me and say they used to bench that weight? Like, what's wrong with people? Why is everyone all jacked up? And as I got older, I ran into a couple injuries, and I said, I would love for people not to have to say that anymore. It'd be great if people could still enjoy bench pressing, still enjoy push-ups, still enjoy dips. So I thought about it, and eventually it turned into the slingshot. But I don't think that that's from a normal like education, but it is a lot of learning, and it is a lot of education in a way, but it's not necessarily something that you would pick up in a school per se.
Do you guys think that because we're not in there are people that do a lot of physical labor, but the market isn't dictated by that anymore, like it was in the past? Like there's a lot of people that just make money online, make money behind a screen, make money in an office, right? Do you think that partially because of that I don't know, it's not as important? And I'm not saying you need to be fucking massive and have a six-pack or whatever. I just mean having power over your physicality. Do you think that's partially why it's not as important?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's unfortunately it's not acceptable is not a good word, but unfortunately people are not addressing the fact that their friend is 40 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight. They themselves are not addressing that they've been at a computer for a long time, that they have not been getting activity. They can't figure out why their hands don't work the same way as they used to. They don't understand why they got numbness going down their leg. They don't understand why their back hurts and their neck is stiff and all these things. It's like, well, you're just really not moving that much. Like the human body is really meant to move around a lot. If I was to guess, I would just say that there's automatically off the bat, without doing anything else, I would say that there's somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 steps in your body, in your brain that needs to be worked out in some sort of capacity every day.
Yeah.
And people that aren't moving around that much, at least, I think they're damaging their body, mind, and spirit every single day, because I believe that there's like a mechanism in the brain for that amount of movement. And maybe it's not necessarily like every day, but I do think your body and your brain keeps score and keeps track of what's going on. And I think that's where you're going to lead into depression. That's where you're going to lead into anxiety. That's going to feed right into obesity. That's going to feed into you being hungry, having cravings, being bored. We say it all the time, but idle time is the devil's playground. That's the ultimate time for all these thoughts to come in. That's time for you to be addicted to your phone, for you to look up porn, for you to do all these things. And I think that so much of it stems from not being physical. And we don't have the same physicality in the culture. We don't have it the same in our jobs anymore. And I think it's something that, that's really hurting us. And to be quite honest, I have noticed a trend in the last several years where it's harsh to say this, but I see a lot of guys, they're starting to look like chicks. They're starting to look like women. And I'm not talking about some of the other things that are going on, but I'm talking about, I think people's hormones are really jacked up because they're not moving. They're not being physical.
What do you mean?
They're not
exactly,
eating
man?
properly.
Like what
Dudes-
aspects of the look?
Dudes holding body fat like the way that a woman would. There's a lot of guys that have like kind of like a womanly body, and they have like boobs, and they got like weight around the hips and stuff. I'm not trying to like pick on anybody and be super mean. It's an observation. And I think that if other people are aware and they're paying attention, that they would maybe see some of the same things. And again, I think it goes back to there's something rooted into our system. It's like into the psyche of a human being to move around a certain amount.
I'm an immature fuck. Leave me alone.
You love men with tits.
I love them. No, man, it's not funny. It's just I'm just a child, and I can't not laugh when I hear about man titties. I don't know. Like, see, look at you. You're telling. Nah, you're right though. It's a serious issue. Andrew, did you have something you want to say?
No, I agree with him. I guess all I can add to what I can remember of your question is that the way we get shit done these days promotes sitting at home more than it did ever before.
Yeah.
The pandemic made everybody work from home, including us.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people never went back to work. Just like a lot of kids never went back to school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the way the world runs promotes less movement. Therefore, it's now become okay to move less, to not get out of the house, to not picking on you, but to order DoorDash, right? Because that's like what we were like, no, we got to do that because we're not supposed to go outside. Now it's like, well, fuck, man, now I don't have to go outside, so I'm just going to do it.
Amazing things are nowadays, or ridiculous, however you want to look at it. No one even knocks or rings your doorbell hardly anymore. Like they just leave the food there. Like no one wants to disturb anybody. Nobody wants to run into anybody. No, I'm guilty of this. I don't want to talk to anybody either. I see people that I know in the grocery store, and I like dive behind the fucking fruit or something because I don't want to, just to avoid like having a conversation.
Yeah.
My God.
It's kind of the way the world is right now.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, my DoorDash. Like you could see it on the app. Like you'd rather see it on the app, but you don't want anybody touching your fucking door because you're afraid that like there's somebody actually there that you might actually have to talk to.
Oh my gosh.
Amazon packages, all that stuff, just like left there.
On my door, I say, don't ring the doorbell because the dogs will bark and the baby will wake up. And initially, that's actually what it was for. But now it's like, great. Don't fucking knock on the door. That doorbell doesn't work. I promise you, it works. But like, I don't want you to actually touch the damn thing because I don't want to be bothered.
Nootropics. Every single biohacker and their mother talks about the benefits of lion's mane or alpha GPC, blah, blah, blah. We have this mix of supplement, but no one really tells you how to analyze what you actually should be trying to take or what problems you may have. That's why Andy Triana has made the Nootropics ebook now on our website at powerproject.live. Now, we've had Andy on our podcast multiple times, and he's educated us on so many different things along with nootropics. But in this ebook, he goes in depth on how to analyze what your problems may be specifically and how to utilize nootropics to help fix those issues or to help progress in certain areas. Like if you're wanting to speak better, think faster, communicate better. There's so many things he goes in depth on in this ebook, and you can get it now on our website at powerproject.live. The link's in the description along with the podcast show notes. It's pretty great how just like working out is baked in self-development because like it's cliche as fuck, but I mean, the way that a majority of people that are listening probably do work out. You work out 30 minutes a day, an hour a day or whatever. You do anything else like that, you'll learn anything it is that you want. It's like somebody who like, let's say that people like, let's say that they don't believe they're intelligent anywhere else than their physicality in the gym. That is not true. That's just a story you're telling yourself because of maybe the ideas of what other people may have of you. So you don't spend the time working on anything else because you don't think you're smart enough for that. But if you did, you'd find that you absolutely are, because you've done something that most people cannot do already.
It's your own limiting beliefs, just over and over again. They're going to be like waiting for you at every new turn of every new thing that you do. You know, people are going to think that when I try this, I'm going to fail. You know, and no one really does think about you. That's the other thing I think you need to keep that in mind, is that if it's your first time walking into like a yoga studio or something, people aren't going to be like really they're paying attention to like their own setup. Like they're trying to set up their own thing. They're trying to have peace of mind. They're trying to have like a particular workout. They're not like, oh man, that guy's like so heavy. What's he doing here? You know, like people aren't there to try to like, people are actually usually way more friendly than you'd think. They're usually someone to come up and they'll say, I haven't seen you here before. Like, say your first class, and you're like, yeah, like, okay, cool. And like, then you meet somebody, you know, but I think we're just so scared to like try any new thing. We just have a lot of limiting beliefs around.
Absolutely. There's this quote that people have been using so much on social media as like a sound, but it does fall into place. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. And that's from Socrates. Who knows?
Socrates.
Socrates or Socrates.
Yeah.
Socrates.
So to even kind of dive into that a little bit further, I do think that the right path is through your body first and then through your mind second. You can do both. You can work on both. But I think that if I'm looking at somebody and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That guy, developed a lot of wealth early on. But a lot of times the wealth sometimes goes with somebody having poor health because they put so much into it. Not all the time. And you can do things simultaneously. But a lot of times you see the person that is making like a lot of money, you see them kind of rise to the top and they gain a lot of weight, or they kind of lose sight of some of those things. And I think that like a well tuned up and having the body that you want, I kind of think personally that it's a little harder to obtain. I guess it depends person to person. I think it's a little bit harder to obtain than to obtain kind of I guess it's a really wealthy, just acquiring a lot of wealth, I guess I'd say.
Why do you think that?
I think that mainly just because of what I've seen, what I've experienced myself, I guess. But for me, doing it this way really felt, because I guess what I see a lot of from people that are doing really well, that they're not doing really well, that they're making a lot of money. And when I talk to them kind of behind the scenes, I'm always like shocked. I'm always like, oh man, that sucks. That guy's really dealing with something. He's really having a hard time. He's really struggling. Because I don't think they tapped into that physicality. I don't think they really went to, like, I think you got to kind of dive deep into that. I think you have to do things that kind of hurt. You got to do things that are kind of uncomfortable. Like, just a brutal ass set of like, some leg work in the gym, maybe some brutal jujitsu sessions. Like without jujitsu, where was your mind, a couple years ago without that physicality, without feeling what it feels like to be dominated by another person and to be choked out by another person.
Making this sound real wild, bro.
It's sexual. Yeah, it's getting a little warm in here. But by another man, just at will, just over and over.
Oh man.
But I think that having your mind tested, right? Having your mind tested against these kind of puzzle pieces that are out there for you to solve, I think is really important. And as I've said many times before, when you're doing your sets in the gym, you can think about them as being mindsets. Like, I did a couple sets, and okay, I got some work in for today. Let me just kind of like dive deep into this one, and when it hurts, let me do 5 more reps, and when those 5 reps sink in and they hurt, do 5 more. I think occasionally the body needs that. I think it's something that just makes us powerful. So I think you're better well equipped if you try to get yourself physically fit when you're young, because it's a little more difficult as you get older. It's not impossible, but it's harder when you're older. Develop those habits when you're young, and I think everything else in your life will be easier.
There's a lot of factors that do make it harder when you get older. For example, if you have kids, now if you have a job, but I don't actually think it's harder. I think that's just because you have a more cemented belief of who you are. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're 35 and you're just starting. It falls to the limiting belief stuff you're talking about, because now you have so many years when you weren't working on something that's just now your identity. That working out stuff isn't necessary for me. That gym stuff isn't for me. It's for other people, right? So you automatically just you're more resistant to that. But that's not true. Everybody has a body. Everybody has the same amount of limbs and digits. If, y'all get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You have the same capability to do a thing. So just have to get yourself to try to do it. And it is harder when you get older, but you can absolutely do it, So become a meathead.
Yeah.
Join the party.
Is there a little bit more of that clip?
Yeah, there is. I don't remember exactly what they go over.
Let's see what we got.
Oops, I muted it. Fuck. My bad.
Well, also, that there's a history to this that I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole, but the running movement of the 70s, the whole Nike movement, Steve Prefontaine and all that. Endurance sports have always been synonymous with most of the sports played on a college campus. Tennis, badminton, I don't know if anyone plays badminton, tennis and cross country and all these things. They, for people to feel fit and look like an athlete, but when they say athlete, they mean the kind of more svelte, shapes, right? And it's only recently that people have started doing resistance training. I mean, the data clearly say that at a minimum, everyone should be getting 180 to 200 minutes of so-called zone 2 cardio, which is the cardio that you can do, but just barely hold a conversation.
That's a lot of minutes.
Per week, minimum. And then on top of that, you need to do somewhere between 6 and 10 sets per muscle group in order to just maintain the musculature, which is very important for everybody, for metabolism, health, posture, ability to be resistant to falls. And of course, if you do those sets really hard, to failure, progressive overload, then you're going to also gain muscle.
Gain muscle, yeah.
But, I think that now the world is a little less afraid of getting bulky. But still, there aren't many professors who are in the gym training 3-4 days a week. I've always done 3.
Yeah, we're afraid of getting bulky because we're going to get made fun of being a meathead. I think a lot of what he said, there's a lot of truth to what he said with the stats and the reps and the zone 2 cardio and stuff. And it's just like the most unappealing thing ever, the least, like where you're like, oh, that's what it takes. Okay, I'm out. So a lot of people aren't going to do fitness kind of based on some of those stats. Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder, I don't really like nutrition science and I guess workout science, whatever you want to call it. I don't know like if it accounts for like the guy that would go to the gym, twice a week, or a guy that would maybe not even go to the gym. He's got some other resistance in his life. Maybe he climbs rocks or something. I think a lot of times these things are done in like an incubator, and they're like, 6 to 10 sets per body part or whatever it was he said. That sounds like a lot, and I don't think you need that much to be physically fit. And I also would disagree with the amount of minutes you need for zone 2 cardio. That seems very excessive. I actually don't think you need hardly any zone 2 cardio, especially if you are doing other forms of cardio. Like I think jiu-jitsu is plenty. Like you guys can build out your aerobic capacity a little bit more by doing like a little bit of running, like just, to run for 20 minutes, 30 minutes straight. Not a bad idea. Maybe an hour at some point, but I don't think you're going to be exponentially more healthy necessarily just because you do that.
Yeah, no, I agree there. It's with jiu-jitsu specifically, like you can build out pretty decent base of cardio if you just don't stop rolling. Doing outside stuff is good, but the thing is like the references to zone 2 and the amount of sets, like either way, with what we've been talking about here, these are just things to make your body a bit more resilient. These are things that just most people aren't doing. Because we think about this, at 60 years old, you want to have a healthy heart, you want to have a strong body so that as you get older, your body can withstand time. You're going to get older, you're going to get a little bit weaker as time goes by, but how much does that drop off? How much will everything that you've been doing for the past 40, 50 years, how much of it can you maintain? And you can maintain a lot if you've built up a good amount, right? So it's just, it falls into the habits, the things that you do each day, the things that you can bake into your day. If you're sitting at home, do you have something by your desk? Do you just have things that, like, for example, you were mentioning earlier off air, Jake has his guitars lying around. Do you have things lying around where it just makes you want to get up and do them? That's why I have these bars at home, so I can just get up and go do some dips. Right. It's baked into the day.
Yeah, where it's quick and easy. It doesn't always have to be like a 3-hour workout. And I just want to basically point out, like, again, what Huberman's saying is correct. Just don't be discouraged if you can't get that much work in. Don't think that it's not going to do anything for you just because you're like, oh, I only worked like, one muscle group today and only did 3 sets. That's awesome. That's great. Pat yourself on the back for a job well done for another day that you got a workout in.
Microdose that shit.
Keep going, or you guys?
I think we're good.
There? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me shut this down.
Anyway, yeah, we're a bunch of fucking meatheads. I think he's right.
Should make a shirt of that. Something with it. But yeah, dude.
I'm still working on getting the label. Yeah. People don't look at me and think meathead, but I live the life.
Well, I think, I guess if you're to kind of think about it, like, I know that they're just joking around and having fun and stuff like that, but I do think that the habits that would make you a meathead, I think can be kind of good, in a lot of ways. The habit to eat protein, the habit to, a lot of meatheads will eat frequently, making sure they're fueled for their workouts. I think
chicken and broccoli in their little boxes.
Oh yeah, we got to bring that clip up too. I think I think that when you think of someone that's a meathead, I think you're also probably thinking someone who just overdoes it. And I guess that would be like the one kind of cautionary tale of just understand that if you go after something really, really hard in one direction, that you may lose other components of yourself that might be difficult to get back. So as you're meatheading your life and as you're lifting in the gym, maybe there's other things that you want to work on, like your range of motion, your athleticism. You can check out anabolic activities and check out some of the stuff that we're doing on there because we're striving to get a little bit more athletic. Kenny's already very athletic and very jumpy and springy and stuff, but we're messing around with some just med ball tosses, some unilateral stuff, some just different patterns than you would normally do, just doing a set of curls instead of tricep push downs.
Did you want the tape clip?
Sure.
Oh, God damn it. Why is it me?
Yep.
Was that me? Hold on. Sorry. Fucking hell. Tried to be cool.
If I make enough little boxes, maybe I'll get some biceps.
Wait! There are literally gay porn movies less gay than meal prep YouTube videos.
Gay.
Super gay.
Yeah. You know what I'm not doing? Cutting up broccoli and putting in little boxes. If I make enough little boxes, maybe I'll get some biceps. Wait!
There are literally gay porn movies less gay than meal prep YouTube videos.
Gay.
Super
Cutting
gay.
up broccoli. That's so great.
Oh man, those full day of eating videos they're just so funny. But you know what? I do get it. For someone who wants to understand, like, how does somebody eat to get to a certain point, those videos are very useful. But like seeing them over and over, I don't know. I know what you eat. I get what you eat, man.
Well,
them in little boxes.
I guess all three of us, like, you might bring food around with you a little bit, but you don't really do that anymore, do you?
Not anymore. The most I'll do is, like, if they're in the house and clean, ready to go, is I'll bring hella fruit. But other than that, like, I'm not making meals anymore. Anytime I do, it's because I don't have time for breakfast. So, like, the last time I brought Monster Mash was like a couple weeks back.
Yeah, we don't have the 6-pack bag or whatever that thing was.
I never had one.
And we don't have the gallon. We're not walking around with the gallon jug. So we're meatheads, but maybe not that severe.
I used to have 2 of them.
6-pack bags?
Yeah, I had the big 6-pack bag with the 6 layers, and then my wife had a pink one because it's a chick one, so it's pink. And that one had 3 layers, and we would just stuff food in those.
I love how they make the chick bag hold less food. Like, you're still but you're a lady. You're a little bit more dainty. So here's your pink bag.
You have
3
less
grams.
macros that you can play with. So here's 3.
You move just like Graham right there for a second.
Dude, I don't underestimate me. Okay, don't play with me, guys. I got this on lock.
Oh God.
Uh-oh. Andrew, take us on
I
out
grew
of
up
here,
with
buddy.
all women, dog.
We're gonna get so much more support for the show now.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for checking out today's episode. Please let us know what you guys think about this conversation in the comment section below on YouTube and on Spotify. And so make sure you guys are subscribed on both sides. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, where can people find your flamboyantness?
Protein. Discord's down below, guys. Ask all questions there. And Nsima Inyang on Instagram, YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.